good Saturday morning to you. It is Saturday morning, the 8th day of August, 2026, and today we're going to move on to something else. We went for what was supposed to be a couple of days, ended up being 2 weeks on the subject of unforgiveness and the associated problems. And I tell you what, we've gotten a lot of comment about it, and there's been a lot of viewership on this, and I hope that indicates that it has been well received as a teaching to help us to move forward and to walk away from those things that so easily beset us, and also from those things that destroy us from within. I have been busy. It has been very busy around here. About 2.5 weeks ago, we filed with the Federal Communications Commission because we had completed getting the radio station tower construction and the radio station to the point where we could legitimately say that we were on the air and or ready to go on the air, and that we did. We filed with the Federal Communications Commission, and as of yesterday, I got a phone call from the consulting engineering firm that handled the application process for us, and the FCC yesterday granted our license to be a licensed radio station. Now, some of you may think, well, you've been talking about this license for 2 years, 3 years. Well, let me give you a little explanation of how all this works, because unless you deal with the Federal Communications Commission and understand how they operate, it doesn't make any sense. First of all, yeah, congratulations, hoorah! and the call letters are something that Brother Bobby will understand too. Bobby Burden, an old broadcasting friend of mine that he's been on the air so much around Dalton, Georgia, and Chattanooga, Tennessee, that folks recognize his voice without anybody having to tell who he is. But Bobby, the call letters are WBJL. So that should give you a laugh. That's what we ended up with, and it's very close to an AM station's call letters, very close in Dalton. But we are not an AM station. We're an FM station. Our call letters are WBJL. We're bringing Jesus to Lafayette and Northwest Georgia. That's just the way it worked out. And Brother Bobby can comment in the comments on Facebook. He understands this as well as I do. In order to file for a license for a radio station or a television station, the Federal Communications Commission has to determine that there is a need and that there is, and then they establish a window of opportunity for filings. And that may be from midnight, August the 8th, 2026 until midnight, August the 10th. But whatever that time frame is, your application for a specific frequency or a specific radio station channel or license has to be filed within that window. So that means that ahead of time, with no guarantee of there ever being a window open, a window of opportunity opening, you have to go ahead and do all of the preliminary engineering work. You have to go ahead and prepare all the application data and information and have everything ready to go. And this costs thousands of dollars. In fact, that's one of the things that's been tough about this. Doing the preliminary engineering was about $2,500. Actually filing the application with the Federal Communications Commission was another $2,500. So now we're talking about $5,000 already, and all we did was file an application. Well, we also had to file an application with the Federal Aviation Administration to build a tower because the location at the church is up on top of a ridge and within a certain amount of mileage of an airport. In fact, we're 1 mile from the runway. And so they had to approve us even building a short tower that doesn't clear the tops of the trees, because their application process does not take into consideration the height of the trees. They initially came back, the FAA came back on that question and told us we could put it 20 feet off the ground. Well, that wasn't going to work because we got trees that are 100 feet off the ground. But because of the location, the FAA agreed, after they had a human person look at it, they agreed we could build a 80-foot tower at the church. Now, in addition to that, we had some, and those who are listening in the Lafayette, Georgia area may not know this, we had a problem with the getting a building permit to build the tower. And even though it was clear that we could build that tower, that I could build that tower without any problems, we still took that to the city council, and the city council it took about 3 months to get it approved through city council. And the city council worked with us and did everything they possibly could to make it possible. Now, how could I build a tower without a building permit? Well, that gets into another thing that I'll talk more about later. But the church property is not in the name of Grace Fellowship Church. The church property is still currently in the name of Richard and Carol Tallent. The reason why is because when we bought the building, the church did not have any money, and the ministry did not have any money, and the ministry did not have any credit. In fact, we didn't even have a bank account because there was no money to put in a bank account. Carol and I purchased the building, and we began to pour money into it to do the remodeling that was necessary to where we could actually open the building up and get a certificate of occupancy. And I'll get more into that later. But back on this stuff with the FCC, the Federal Communications Commission decided that they were going to allow, in 2022, they were going to allow a window of opportunity for filing of low power FM stations only. And that window of opportunity was in December for about 2 days. December 2022. Well, as you may recall, I was very sick during this period of time, but the Lord had already told me this is something we need to do. This is something to do that we've got to do. So we put all of this money out to have the engineering done, have the application ready to go. And when that window opened in December of 22, we filed. It took us a year until December of 23 to actually get the construction permit. Okay. Now, one of the reasons why was because there were some questions at the FCC that had to be answered. And a local attorney, Gordon Hall, a local attorney here in Lafayette, wrote a very astute letter to the Federal Communications Commission that we had to have a Washington communications attorney file that with the FCC. Gordon did it for the church, but the Washington communications attorney ended up costing us $2,000. So now, ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. You see all this happening. Within a few days, we received a construction permit for the radio station. And let's see, the construction permit was actually dated. I have that construction permit right here in front of me. See? The construction permit was dated December 4th of 24. And we had 36 months to get it on the air. So by December of 27, it had to be on the air or else we would lose the license. Well, once we had the construction permit, then we began working on trying to get the tower up. That involved working with the city. We had approval from the FAA, and right here's the approval in my hand to do it. We even have a number for that tower, even though it's only 80 feet. By the time we got through with that, we're talking about May, June of last year. At that time, I was sick for 6 months. I was double pneumonia, unable to do anything. So nothing happened at the church to try to get the radio station on, because, to be quite frank with you, it is me and Carol carrying the workload and the burden for this ministry. And I'll get into that more here in just a couple of minutes. We had a tower given to us that we were going to assemble, put up. It was going to cost $20,000 to put that tower up. And after trying to raise some money to do that, and the money not coming in, literally nothing came in for that tower construction. Nothing came in for the radio station. We decided we had another alternative, and we started working on that as the option. Well, in just a few weeks ago, we managed to get the tower up and the antenna installed and everything operational. And we filed with the Federal Communications Commission for the license, because until it is built, you cannot file for a license. You only have a construction permit or the authority to build a radio station. And it has to be built the way the FCC paperwork and the FAA paperwork says it's supposed to be built. And you're certifying, when you file with the commission, you're certifying that you've built it according to those specs, which we have. And I got word yesterday that the Federal Communications Commission has issued our license. So we are a licensed broadcast station as of yesterday, as of the 7th day of August. So it has taken from this was filed December of 24, and let's see, no, December of, anyway, it was the construction permit was issued December 24. We filed the paperwork actually in December of 23, and I did all, we had all the engineering done in September of 21. So now we're going back 5 years that this has taken. 5 years that this has taken to get to this point. Well, now we're on the air. Now we're legally on the air and operating a low power FM radio station in Lafayette, Georgia. This radio station has cost us, because of having to buy equipment required by FEMA and the FCC for the emergency alert system, and having to buy a transmitter. We had been given a couple of different transmitters to try to use, and neither one of them was acceptable or repairable. And so we ended up having to buy another transmitter. Ka-ching, ka-ching, ka-ching. When we put up the tower, a local construction company came in and dug the hole for us, and D&D Excavation, and thank you so much, Doug, came in and dug the hole for us. And then we contacted Joe Miller, who has worked with me in broadcasting for about a decade. He came over. He has been an immense help, just like Brother Chuck Bryant. The two of them have been an immense help on things that they could do. Chuck with the computer systems and with the automation system, giving us the automation system that we have. Computer and all, gave it to us, and gave us Chattanooga Gospel Radio, our streaming feed. Joe and I got in there, and I was sick at the time. We put in the rebar. We had to have a piece of pipe fabricated to mount the tower, the framework for it, and several $100s for that. And we put it in and then got everything ready. And then the concrete company came and filled the hole with 7 yards of concrete. Now, folks, I don't have to tell anybody how expensive concrete is. Ka-ching, ka-ching. Yesterday, I took some pieces of metal over to a fabrication shop to have some things fabricated to further enhance the stability of the tower, and to complete the actual installation of the tower with some brackets to make it more steady, more firm. And I said all that to say this: we've been working on this project for 5 years. And in those 5 years, Carol and I paid out of pocket about $25,000 to get this radio station on the air. In 2019, we purchased the church property. Carol and I purchased the property in our name because the ministry had no money, no checking account, and no credit. We purchased the property. In 2021, we sold 2 pieces of real estate that we had and paid off the mortgage. So if there's anyone that believes in this ministry any more than me and Carol, I don't know who it could be besides the Lord, because we have literally put paying the utility bills, paying for the construction materials, paying for the remodeling. We have $150,000 tied up in this ministry over the last 7 years. Now, I'm not saying that to complain. I'm just telling you the honest truth. Carol and I, out of our pockets, and I've not worked in 5.5 years, not been able to. So we're sitting here paying the utility bill every month and asking folks to help with the ministry if this ministry is indeed ministering to you. And most months, over the last 12 months, the ministry has received about $50, maybe $100 in donations. And I thank the Lord for every penny of it. And every penny of it goes into the church account to pay for all the things that are necessary there. In fact, the property taxes, the insurance, and utility bills, Carol and I have been paying ourselves. There's not been one, we have not required the ministry to pay 1 penny in rent or lease the entire time that we've had the building, and we don't intend to. However, we do plan to, over the next couple of months, file the paperwork to transfer the property over to the ministry. And that's going to happen before the end of the year. I said all of that to say this: if you believe this ministry is doing something worthy of the ministry, if this ministry is touching you, if this ministry is helping you, then we encourage you to pray about being a monthly sustaining supporter of this ministry. The work of the ministry is not free from expense, just like anything else. We have to pay out utility bills. We have to pay on everything else. And one of the reasons why I've done the Sunday morning broadcast from here at the house is because it costs less money. And at the present time, the local congregation that we had before I got so sick 2 years ago, a year and a half, 2 years ago, we have blessed other churches with them because they needed to be in a church where they could be ministered to. So we're starting from scratch again, Labor Day weekend. We're only allowed to use the basement of the church building. We're not allowed to use the auditorium because it still has not received a certificate of occupancy. We have been approved to use the basement. We have limited facilities there. We still have things that need to be repaired there. And we need to finish the work that we've started in setting up the radio station studio and office, because we're required to have an office that has all of this federal information in it, all the business information, and all of that has to be there, has to be available for public inspection, as is required by federal law. I've only been doing this kind of work about 50 years. So I understand what it takes to put a radio station on the air. And I knew that when we started this, when we filed for the station, when we filed for the construction permit, and when we received the license, knew what it involved. But folks, it is time for God's people who believe in this ministry, who are blessed by this ministry, to step up and be a part of helping us to not only continue what we're doing, but to move ahead with the opening of the church itself. And to be frank and honest with you, that's why I'm bringing you up to date on everything today. Because even transferring the property to the name of the ministry will cost money. One title company told me it would be between $3,000 and $5,000 just to transfer it. So, again, and somebody might be saying, well, you're just talking about money today. That's all you're talking about. All these preachers, all they do is talk about money. Well, you know what? You can't live in your house without making the house payments, without paying for repairs, without paying your utilities, without paying your taxes, without paying insurance. And we can't run a ministry without doing all those things as well. And honestly, I don't think most people are stupid enough to think that we can. I was told one time that preachers get free telephone. Preachers get this. Preachers get that free. No, we don't. We don't get any of that free. We pay for it just like anybody else does. Churches don't get it free. Churches are exempt from property taxes. But it has taken us 7 years to get to the place where we can legitimately transfer this church back into the name of a ministry and become exempt from property taxes. You know why? Because unless a property is being used for the purposes of the ministry of that church, it is still subject to property tax. That's how we ended up being able to purchase the building, was because the previous owners of it, the building was sitting vacant, and the county had revoked its property tax exemption. And the people were owed the county, Walker County, $9,000 in unpaid property taxes. And the building was about to be sold on the courthouse steps for property taxes, a church building, because it hadn't been used as a church. Well, between my sickness and all the repairs that we've had to do on the building, and the fact that it's in mine and Carol's name for legal purposes and financial purposes, we have to pay property taxes every year. And that includes this year, which is going to be a little over $1,000 here in just a few months. Insurance on the property. And you have to have property and casualty insurance. Anybody that's leadership of a church understands that. You have to do it for your home. That's a couple of $1,000s a year. A couple of thousand here, a couple of thousand there. After a while, you're talking about a lot of money. And that doesn't include music licensing, which is a part of the radio station, but also the church has to have a music licensing, has to pay music licensing because of public performance. Did you not know that? Yeah. Normally it's done through an organization called CCLI. Well, for the radio station, it has to be done through the ASCAP, BMI, CSAC. So all of this adds up. And what I'm trying to tell you is this. We need about $2,000 a month, basic, to pay all the bills so that they don't come out of my Social Security check. Does that just about sum it up for you? I'm 71 years old. I'm not physically able to get out here and work on radio stations the way I used to. And the radio stations that I was working on, they all have somebody else doing the work now. And that's fine. I don't have the strength to get out there and do all that. But I'm going to work in the ministry. And I do this broadcast every day, 6 days a week, plus on Sunday. But in order for us to open the church and begin to have services, begin to promote the radio station, and do the things that we need to do to reach people with the gospel, and to continue with our online Live 365 simulcast of the radio station feed. It all costs money. So I wanted to take today to just throw all this out there and let you know this ministry, if it feeds you, then this ministry is worthy of your monthly attention. If you want to do that by credit card or by Venmo, contact me. We'll take care of all the information that you need. But I'm not going to publish the Venmo and the credit card information on the website or on the Facebook page, because that's financial irresponsibility. That's how people get their accounts hacked. And those accounts are tied to the church's account, not my personal account. It's tied to the church's account at the Bank of Lafayette. So, folks, here's your something to pray about. And some of you may not need to pray about it. Some of you may just need to act, because the Lord's already been talking to you. Those that have already been supporting the station, the ministry, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We couldn't do it without you. But those who have not, who have held back, pray about it. You and the Lord talk about it. If the Lord tells you to do something, do it. Until next time, this is Rick Tallent saying, go with God, because he has already gone before you and prepared the way. Boy, well, do I know that to be a fact. He's prepared the way. In the middle of fighting cancer, when they were telling me, when they tried to write my obituary 3 times over the last 6.5 years, we've still gone forward with the ministry. Why? Because I believe God's not through with us yet, and this ministry will continue. Until next time, this is Rick Tallent saying, go with God, because he has already gone before you and prepared the way. He is your rear guard. And no matter what happens, Jesus will always be right there by your side. Now go and be blessed and be a blessing.